Are your parents involved in your dating life?
Yeah, they are, dude. I would say that like whatever my parents have like as opinion, it has a pretty big weight on my dating life.
Oh, how so?
How so? I think that like the Asian teaching or the Asian culture,
Uh-huh.
it kind of teaches Asians to like really take whatever your parents say to heart, especially like their approval.
Oh, yeah, their approval. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you have that same experience. What
Uh-huh.
about yours? Like, what does your parents think about like
For
girls you
me,
date?
I don't have that like that.
You just like, I don't give a fuck what you guys think.
No. Yes, it's a little bit like that, But I feel like
I'm like, I
I
don't give a fuck who you are.
yeah, I don't really disclose too much of like my dating life and stuff to my parents.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I kind of have that feeling too, where
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just
So,
like, you know what? I don't give a fuck what you guys think.
okay. Dude,
Yeah.
that's good because then we have like two different polarities. You
Uh-huh.
don't disclose anything at all,
Yeah.
and I disclose like almost everything.
Oh, really?
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's good. I think that's a very interesting conversation. But have you ever disclosed anything to your parents about like dating? Like
No, nothing.
not at all?
Not
Like you
at
don't go
all.
like, "Hey, dad, I'm skeet with this chick right here.
Nah.
What do you think about her?"
Nah, nothing. Dude.
Okay, why though?
Huh?
Why? Why don't you disclose anything?
Cause I feel like he never talked to me about stuff like this, like growing up, and then I just don't feel comfortable talking to him, and he just
Yeah.
doesn't really feel like he wants to talk about it, or like I don't know. I
Really?
feel like he's not a really talkative person in general to
Uh-huh.
start with, and then I feel like on top of that, it's like we never talk about like intimate stuff with each other or with my
Intimate stuff with each other. What?
with my
Why
dad.
do you make it
Oh.
sound like it's incest with your dad?
No, no, it's not. Yeah, but yeah, it's just because we aren't like close, like on that
like
level.
that level.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of Asians would be like that with their parents.
Uh-huh.
They're not close like that, and they
Yeah.
don't talk about things unless they actually get in a relationship.
Uh-huh.
You never been in a relationship, right?
Yeah,
never had a
long
girlfriend?
term, yeah.
Okay, so if say for example you had a girlfriend and you needed to go about like introducing her to your parents because it's like, okay, who's this girl that's always coming to our house? Wouldn't you need to talk about it at that point? And how would you talk about it then?
It's only if stuff got serious,
Yeah.
where it's like there's a title, and then I think after it's been established that like we're in a relationship, then I would just be like, oh, then I would introduce to the family. But I'm just like, if we're just like friends with benefits or like sneaky link, like your family don't gotta know who you is, like you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
you just part of the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this then. Like, if, say, for example, your dad was like, hey, I don't like how your girlfriend is always just not doing the dishes whenever she comes over and eats with our family.
Uh-huh.
What would you do? Would you be like, fuck you, dad, I don't give a shit?
I mean, most girls that come in or like, come over to your place or whatever, like, I feel like any girl with decent manners would want to help clean or like clean up after themselves, so like.
Bro, you'd be surprised, man.
No,
Come
I
on.
know.
Oh, okay,
okay.
like I know you never had a girlfriend. You never had a girlfriend, right? But like, after a while, your girlfriend would be like, okay, this is my family. So like they're taking care of me and I'm like the princess of the house. So I'm not going to do that shit. Some Asian girls are like that, bro.
Uh-huh.
Serious. So with that being said, I mean,
for me, I'd be like, hey, here's the door. You can leave.
so you would take what your dad says to heart then, right?
I mean, I didn't realize until now, but like, yeah, I feel like, what would your reaction be, Panda? Or what would you do if you brought a girl over and she didn't clean the dishes?
Well, it's happened before. That's why I asked that question.
Because
And
that hasn't ever happened to me. Because usually I don't try to eat at the house.
Uh,
I try to take them out
yeah.
because
Yeah, but if like
just
for example, like your dad was saying, I don't like how your girlfriend does this,
uh-huh.
would you kind of intervene or would you just be like, fuck you, dad?
Oh, so are you trying to ask like, oh, would I take my girlfriend's side or my dad's side?
Yeah, yeah.
Type of thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
would you be like, oh, try to defend your girlfriend or trying to like defend your dad or kind of agree with
Exactly.
your dad, right? Type of thing.
Try to do something for your girlfriend or try to do something for your dad.
Mm-hmm. So that's tough. That's tough. You know, honestly, depends on where we're at with the relationship with the girl. But I feel like family should come first. Like, yeah. But depends on what my parents are grilling me about the girlfriend. Is it like, oh, like her habits or like her attitude or like, you know?
It is a gray area. Like, I don't think I defined it that well, but if
Mm-hmm.
it's, for example, something that she should be doing, like you think and perceive something as like general mannerism, like for example, the cleaning dishes, right?
Mm-hmm.
After she eats, and then she always gives it to like your parents to like clean and shit when she just, you know, comes over and eats.
Uh-huh.
When you think, and you were raised as from an Asian household, that if you go to someone's house as a guest, you should be the one helping clean or at least offer.
Uh-huh.
And if she's never doing that anymore, because she thinks, oh, fuck it, it's my family too.
Uh-huh.
And in my family, I'm the princess. My dad and mom cleans the fucking dishes for me.
Uh-huh.
So if that's the case, like things like that.
Is she Asian or is she like one of the interracial girls I'm dating?
Okay, that's a good question. So you would give a pass for like a white chick? If you're dating a white chick, you would just be like, okay, dad.
No, of course.
Clean
not,
the dishes.
Not
for
a
her.
hard pass. Not a hard pass. I'm gonna have a one-on-one conversation with her and be like, yo, this is not how it rolls here, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. But like, if it was an Asian girl, I'd be like, you know the culture. Like, what's up with you? Why you tripping? You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then we on the same page then.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like what I said. Like we're gonna take our parents' thoughts to heart,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's not even just like an Asian culture thing. I feel like even I'm not gonna say which other race probably would not take that to heart, but honestly, I feel like for the most part, like a lot of other races would be like taking that to heart, like
Yeah.
what their parents think.
Uh-huh.
Assuming that they don't fucking hate their parents.
Yeah.
I mean, even if they hate their parents, I still feel like they would take a little bit to heart, bro. But from the Asian perspective, I feel like it's a really big thing that if our parents perceive someone like this, like for example, for guy or girl, right, in the Asian culture, if they come from like a really poor background and you come from like a really prestigious, high status background, they would be like, why are you marrying such a poor or broke guy or girl who comes from like this peasant background?
Uh-huh.
They'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, you know? And then you would start thinking about it and you'd be like, yeah, dude, what am I doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, would you think about that?
No, yeah, if that happened to me, like if my parents sat me down and be like, hey, yo, like they had this talk with me about the situation, I'll be like, yeah, I would definitely have like a moment to like kind of process and just think about what they're saying, because I feel like it's different for every situation.
Yeah.
And depending on the level of interest I have for the woman, I'll like continue to either back her up or just be like kind of, how would you say, like letting your parents know that
Okay,
like,
but I feel like there's like a lot of undefined scenarios that we're giving, like hypotheticals. What I'm just trying to get at with this is just more like, would you take what your parents say to heart? Like, would it affect you? Like, would you start thinking about it? I'll give you an example.
like day to day, or
yeah, like just day-to-day activities. For example, if my parents see me going out with a girl that has tattoos, they'd be like, hey, why are you going out with a girl that has tattoos? Because that's not really accepted in the Asian community, right? Especially our parents' generation. Then I would be a little bit like, yeah, you know, I mean, I've dated girls that have tattoos. It's just, you know, older parents, that generation, like boomer generation, they would be like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah, like,
And it just leads to, it looks like a sense of promiscuity to them. So then whenever they say that, I would be like, yeah, you know, whenever I see those tattoos on her, now it starts to bother me. So what I'm getting at with this is that yeah, maybe we might try to defend them a little bit because we have interest, depending on our interest levels. Like if we have high interest, we're going to defend them more. But if we have low interest, we probably would defend them less and just be like, hey, can you cover that shit up in front of my parents? But what I'm saying is that, like, even if we have high interest or not, would we as Asians be affected by that a lot? And then every time I see this girl with tattoos, I'd be like, can you not get another tattoo, you know? Because that would affect the fuck out of me now. Another thing, I'll give you another example to kind of build on this just real quick. For example, I have a good upbringing, good family, and wealth is over there. It's you know, it's comfortable, right? So my parents, they would be like, why are you dating a girl from like a lower status? You should find someone who's like around your status, or at least like sustainable. You shouldn't find someone who's like just from like farmer level or peasant level, because now you're gonna have to pick up her trash, and there's a lot of liability with that. It's very different from, like, you know, online. You know how there's this very popular video of Zherka. He's all like,
I can date a McDonald's worker who makes $5 an hour. I can fall in love with her. She does not have the DNA to do that ever. Would you ever marry a McDonald's worker?
Probably not.
No, there's no probably. Absolutely.
Well, at this point in my life, no.
No. At any point, you'd be like, go back to your fries. But us, if we had a cute, sweet girl that's loyal, and she worked at McDonald's, I'd say, bring some nuggets, babe. I would fucking marry her in a week. Men can marry a poor McDonald's worker. Women, no matter how great he is, they can't do it.
Yeah.
it's all like, you wouldn't date a McDonald's worker because you are all gold digging, you know?
Yeah.
And I disagree with that, because in the Asian community, I feel like Asians look at this a lot, especially the parents. They'd be like, if you're a guy, they would still be like, yo, why are you dating this girl if she comes from like McDonald's background? What are you doing? Right? So what I mean by this is that whatever our parents say, it would still have a huge weight on our shoulders. And then we would start looking at it. Like, initially, I didn't think about this whole, like, okay, like, you should date someone of your status. I didn't think about that whole thing. But then once my parents started saying that, I started looking at that more. And I'm like, oh, you know what?
That makes sense.
That should make sense.
That way, yeah.
Because, like, they're not going to understand the background that I come from and have the certain mindset.
Yeah. No, yeah, I could see where you're coming from, because, like, I'm not sure if every Asian household is like this, but for me, like, coming from my household, like, my Asian dad doesn't talk a lot, or he doesn't really, like, speak his mind a lot. So if he was, like, able to, like, make a comment or something verbally, you know, I would be like, oh, okay, then that really, like, turned him the wrong way or something, you know, that really, like affected him, for him to, like, say something about it. Because usually, like, he would be okay with whatever, or he would kind of keep stuff to himself and until, like, something really bothered him, then he would, like, try to make it, like, known. But then, yeah, so what I'm trying to say is, like, if he made it known to me that he didn't like something, then it would weigh really heavy on my shoulders, because he doesn't speak a lot. So if he does speak to me about something he doesn't like, then I know that really bothered him.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot with a lot of Asian kids. They'd be like, yeah, my parents don't talk to me a lot, because we have that barrier with our parents. A lot of the times it's just like, hey, do you want to eat?
Yeah.
Hey, do this. Hey, take out the trash.
Yeah.
It's not like the white people connection where it's like, hey, son, how's your day? Hey, how's the dating with that chick? Awesome. Let's play some baseball together. Yeah, all right. You want to catch some ball?
So right, dude. You catch some ball?
I wish I mean, I'm lucky I had a dad who played tennis with me, but now he doesn't anymore. But I'm sure a lot of Asian kids out there don't have parents who play things with them which sucks.
Yeah.
So
really
I do think, yeah, you know, like white people probably have that connection where it's like, yeah, you want to, you know, they're more like friends.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it's just like, all right, so you want to eat? Do the chores? Did you study?
Yeah.
So when they actually
How's
do
work?
talk
Yeah.
about when they actually do talk about like shit they don't like, it's like, oh,
He's like, damn, yeah.
all right, this girl needs to fucking change if
Yeah.
she's living in this house.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
me, yeah.
I do think that's a big factor that you talked about and pointed out, man. So I think that's probably why it weighs heavier on Asian kids, like whatever their parents say, because whenever the Asian parents talk, it's just not anything about dating.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that many Asian parents or that many Asian kids that have good relationships with their parents to a point where they talk about their dating life.
Yeah. So, hey, dude, so that's why I'm surprised. I'm like, hey, you like share a little bit more about you. Like, you share with your parents about
Yeah,
dating.
dude, I talked to them about like, yeah, I hooked up with this chick.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. I did it at the beach with this chick.
Oh, dude. See, that's a close relationship you have with your parents, bro. That's pretty tight.
Yeah, it's more like a white people relationship, but I would still say there's still a lot of things where it's like just typical Asian, where it's just like, hey, come eat. Okay, like let's talk about this, do this chore, all right? It's not anything about like how's your day going, how's your week. It's more like, yeah, it's just more like remedial task talkings. So I mean, I try to talk to them about like things, but then they're not really reciprocative. They just go like, oh, okay, or they just go like,
Dude, that's what my parents too. They kind of
Yeah.
like, they don't have a response. They're just kind of like, oh, okay.
they don't beat me and go like, oh,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
shouldn't be bringing girls in the house
Yeah.
and, you know, doing that shit or being a fuckboy. But they just go like, you know, yeah. They,
Like when
they
you
don't-
go for advice or something, they're kind of just like, oh, they don't know what to say, or just like,
Yeah, it's more like
Or-
business with my dad, and then with my mom, it's more like about like eating and like, hey, did you go see the doctor? So, yeah, I think probably, like I'm able to share a lot with them about like my dating life, but they don't really give that much about it back. Maybe they just, yeah, I mean, it's like what I said. They do talk about like, hey, like make sure you find a good girl, and this girl looks a little bit promiscuous. You should watch out. So whenever they say that, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a big weight on my shoulders. I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit mindful now. But my parents have a lot of opinions with dating.
Oh, really?
They just don't go like, they just don't laugh with it with me and go like, oh, haha, you know. They just go like, oh, this girl looks like blah blah blah. This girl's good because she does this good. It's more like watch out, and it's more like, okay, she has these good qualities.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not like buddy like white people. Like it's like, oh yeah, when I was your age.
Oh, like
I
sharing
did
it like a
this.
friend, but they're kind of just
Yeah.
looking out for you, right?
They're just just looking out.
Not like
yeah,
talking
exactly.
as a friend, like, hey, you know, we did this and that. You're just like, they're just like, hey, be careful, you know, like,
Yeah.
just be careful. Not saying that, like, you know,
Exactly.
they're a bad person or anything. Just watch out.
Yeah.
type of thing.
So I still don't have that relationship where it's like white people.
but still
family,
closer
but
than mine.
It's still closer than yours and a lot of
Yeah.
others. But so when you bring that up about like, oh yeah, like your Asian parents don't really talk to you about dating, then yeah, I kind of see what you mean by that. Even though mine is a little bit different, I'm sure a lot of Asian households are like that. where
Are similar in a way.
They don't really talk about.
Like
the kids
dating.
probably don't even talk about it that much.
Yeah.
I've even seen some posts on, you know, subtle Asian dating.
Or the parents would ask like, so when am I having kids, or when
Yeah,
you getting married?
when
But
are
then
you gonna have
they never asked
grandkids?
about the dating process. They're just
Exactly.
like, they're just like, hey, when you getting married? When you having kids? And I'm just like, now you're unloading it on me. Like you didn't even ask me or like help me through this process.
Exactly.
You know?
It's like an instruction. It's
Yeah.
like, give me fucking grandkids. It's not
Yeah,
like
I'm just like, wait, what? Whoa. You
it's
skip
not
from
like, hey son, how's everything going? Is the dating culture good now?
Yeah.
What's wrong with dating Gen Zs? You know, why is it hard dating as a Gen Z or whatever? I mean, I'm a millennial, but you know, I'm just giving an
Yeah.
example. But yeah, so it just be like more like instruction, not like buddy.
He's like, hey, you should get married soon, you know? And you're like, oh, okay, you're telling me that I'm old or something? Yeah.
Wait, so have they said that to you?
No,
get married?
they haven't said that to me.
Oh, then how do you know about that?
I mean, cause
Your friends talk about it.
yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, we have this one friend before. He's the guy in the fake alpha male.
Oh.
That one video.
Oh yeah, that one too.
The one that's not our friend anymore. Okay, so this guy, because he was so beta, I'll give some context of what happened. Because he was so beta, and then he was always like, my parents are pressuring me to have kids, and I feel bad. And he just felt more forced to go for girls. And then he would tell me, I'm gonna ask this girl to be my girlfriend on the third date when they've never even held hands. And then I was in shock. I was like, bro, don't do that. That's gonna hurt you more. And that pushed the girl away. He didn't listen to my advice and other homies' advice. That actually pushed the girl away. And so I was just like, dude, this guy's way too beta. Like, it's affecting me. Because you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So if you surround yourself with betas, you're gonna be a beta. So I was like, I can't have that energy. So anyways, why this relates to like him listening to his Asian parents is because his whole functionality dating changed because of his parents pressuring him. When am I gonna have grandkids?
Yeah.
And then that fucked up his whole dating, because now he became like a beta simp because his mom's all like pressuring him, hey, what's wrong with you? How come you can't get a girlfriend? So that makes him even more desperate, and that makes his functionality fucked up to get the right girl. So I think
no, that really harms the Asian community, right? Like when our Asian parents try pressuring us, or like when they just drop it like instructions, like, hey.
So I know what you mean. Like they want to look out for us, but then in another aspect, because we have so much weight of their words.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, their words have so much weight on us.
Yeah.
That we're just like, shit. Like we have to act according to how they tell us, and then in a sense, we're kind of like mindless creatures following their orders. And that's just how kids would be for their parents, in a sense. I think not even for Asians, but a lot of races.
Yeah.
They would just listen to what their parents say, and then they would follow accordingly.
Yeah.
Right? Like
the NPC type of mindset.
Yeah. Like for example, if you were in a bad household, your parents were fucked up, then that percentage of that kid becoming fucked up is pretty high.
Way higher, yeah.
Yeah, like divorced households, right?
Yeah.
There's always like crazy shooters that come out from like this divorced households or whatever, right? It's because, you know, their family's fucked up, their life is fucked up, probably low income household. So they take after their parents. But I think for Asians, what I'm distinguishing is that like they probably look at it way heavier. So if you have really shitty Asian parents, you probably become way shittier as a human.
Because their opinions weigh way more on you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Definitely.
But the only thing I would see though is that if these Asians are surrounded by other Asians that have good morals, then they would be like, oh, okay, you know what? My parents are wrong. I'm going to go against what my parents say. So I think that's why you don't see as many crazy fucking Asians that are just going around shooting up schools, because I think because Asians hang with Asians, people hang with like who they fuck with the most, who they're more similar with. So I think with that regard, then they're not as crazy because their friends kind of save them in a sense.
Yeah. Have your parents ever told you what healthy relationships should consist of, or did you kind of just pick it up seeing them interact together?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really tell me. I feel like Asian parents don't really have that dating talk with you.
Yeah.
That like white people do. Or even like Hispanic families.
Yeah. They kind of just, for me, like when I was growing up and then we had like these sex education videos and stuff. Like, remember when we had to bring home like permission slips or whatever for our parents to sign? Because we were watching those like sex education videos or whatever.
Yeah. Like
my parents would just be like, oh, okay. Like, they would kind of just brush it off or ignore it, or like be like, yeah, like putting it off like it's not a big deal, or like, you know, like you're too young for a relationship, or like, you know, they're just like trying to put it off. But then like when I jump into like past college, they're just like, oh, all of a sudden their like whole idea changed. They're just like, oh, like when are you getting married, or like when are you having kids?
But they
like,
still don't have like talks with you.
Yeah,
about, like,
they
how
still don't
it
have
is.
talks. They're just kind of like asking you stuff, you know.
Yeah, when that whole thing happened, they never had the sex talk with me. You know, like in 5th grade when you're going through like the first like course.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, here's what a condom is and this is what sex is. They never talked to me about any of that. Even when I lost my virginity, I told them, hey, well, I'm dead. Lost my virginity. They're like, oh shit. And that was it.
Shoot,
You know? And then yeah, there's not that much talk about it. And I feel like what their role modeling method is by just showing me like how they interact with each other, and not by telling me, and not being like, hey, don't be like your dad, don't be like your mom, because they do this and this wrong. You got to find something, you know. The probably the only thing that my dad would tell me is you got to find someone more like your mom, because she has characteristics. Not to find a mom.
Okay,
It's very different.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, they always find someone who's very similar to their mom. If you're a guy, they find someone who's very similar to their dad if you're a girl, because they have those caring characteristics, and you're familiar with that caring characteristics. I can't even talk. You're familiar with that caring characteristic, and then that's why like girls without fathers, they have like daddy issues. Why is that coined? Why is that the term? Because what they're familiar with is that, you know, their dad walking out on them and having fatherless vibes. That's why they go for these guys who are red flags, and their sense of love is coined because of that, right? So people just go for that. They go for like people who are like their parents, right? So that's why my dad, he tells me like, yo, go for someone who's like your mom, with similar characteristics, like nurturing, caring, and is very just like a little girl, you know. And I like that. I like girls who are very caring and charismatic, and I don't like girls who are just like just mother role, just cleaning and cooking and just quiet. I like a girl who can be like very enthusiastic and like a little girl. Yeah. Right? So I think what they did is they just showed me how they interact with each other. They didn't tell me. And so I think a lot of kids, Asian kids, they have that. They look at their experience with like their parents, and then that's how they forge their own ideology of how a relationship should be. Their parents don't really talk to them about it. And I feel like they only talk to them about like, yo, can your boyfriend or girlfriend stop doing this in our house? Or like find someone who's better in this regard.
Maybe if I did live with my mom, maybe, I'm not sure, maybe we would have a talk. Maybe she would want to find out, or like, hey, you know, like. But I don't know. I feel like, I don't know how it feels like to be able to share, like, you know, your relationships with your parents. I feel like it would change some things. Yeah. Like, definitely open my eyes more. Because, you know, like, whatever they say, you're just going to be, like, pondering that, like, you know, like, it's going to weigh heavy on your shoulders. You're going to be like, oh, shoot, like, every single time from that moment forward, that's all that's going to be on, like, on your mind, kind of, whenever you see them. You're just like, oh, shoot, that's what my dad said, you know?
I think it's also because Asians, we just have, like, a more submissive personality. And because of that submissiveness, we're more listening to like what people around us say. And so just us genetically speaking, we would just be more docile to like what dad or mom goes like, hey, don't date this person. I don't like your girlfriend. Don't date her. Right? Because we're just more submissive in that we're not rebellious. You don't really see too many Asian kids like that rebellious.
I wouldn't say I would say the more correct term would be, would you say conservative? Or like, you know how we're just more like, we like to follow authority and we don't like to break away from that? Like, how would you say that?
So our parents are like the authority, and then we're like the ones that just like comply. So in a long shot, we are just very docile little bitches to our parents.
we are we try to please them as much as possible
with dating. So even like
even my parents are like, hey, like, I would rather have an Asian, you know, than anything else. I'm just like, oh, okay, good to know, guys.
And then that really fucks with your brain.
I'm just like, oh, okay.
So whenever you're dating like a Hispanic, you're like, shit.
I'm just like, I'm just praying that she's like maybe 50% or 25% Asian, right? You're just like, oh, come on, please be a mix.
Oh man, that's funny, dude. That just goes to show that Asians, we just listen to our parents so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, we probably have like rebellious phases, and there's times where like you see in like high school, there's this kid that's like super studious, but then when they go to college, they just completely break. They probably have a period of time where they just like are fucked up for a bit, but for the most part, I feel like Asians bounce back from that, and they still are submissive towards their parents.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of kids who my parents. My parents are so like Asian, and you know, they're so traditional. But then now, like growing up, after they've grown up and all that shit, now they're super mature, and then they listen to what their parents have to say, and they knew they were wrong.
It's that,
you know?
I feel like it's that type of respect that us Asians we have for our elders, you know?
Yeah.
Like we just respect them with like, would you say a little bit too much? Or, I mean, respecting elders, you feel like
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I
to a
think
certain extent,
Asians
or?
definitely take that like
Uh-huh.
very seriously, way more serious. Because, you know, like in Asia, they're just like, oh, how come you can say this? Because I'm more like rebellious as a person.
Yeah,
right?
Me too.
And you know, Asians for the most part, they're not. So then they're like, how can you do this? Like, did you never get beat when you were a kid?
Dude, like, did your parents ever teach you? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, yeah.
Yes. So then I'm like, well, I'm just ballsy, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so then when I look at these kids, I'm like, well, you just don't have balls, and a lot of Asians just don't have balls, and they just know how to follow orders. So they
Yeah.
just follow whatever that their parents are gonna say. I'm like, okay, that's dumb, because you're just submissive and just following whatever they say, like mindless creatures.
Yeah.
Right? What if they're wrong? I mean, they could be wrong with like your whole dating. Like they're telling you how to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend, like, you know, the friend that we have, and
Oh,
he completely fails and becomes a beta cuck.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just like they're just more, Asians are just more submissive in general. But anyways, guys, we will wrap it up here. Let us know what you think if you're Asian and you have other thoughts that you want to share with like how their weight is of their words on your shoulders. Let us know what your comments are. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time on Controvert Podcast. Peace out.